Have you ever traded time for money? Hey, if you're alive, I know you have. And if you're an entrepreneur, you have experienced this paradox, this idea, because we're constantly looking for ways to stop trading time for money. But it's a paradox. We're going to talk about that paradox on today's episode. Listen, there's a lot to learn when growing and scaling your business.
That's why we created the Business Choreography podcast, where we talk about choreographing your marketing, operations, and sales into dynamic systems that increase your revenue and your impact.
We'll explore solid business principles and discuss all things that make businesses dance to success with clarity.
We'll help you figure out where the holes are in your business and what you can do to fix them. Think of us as your official business choreographers, aka your insider growth strategists.
Remember, your choreography matters. Welcome to the Business Choreography Podcast. Michael Johnson here, one of the official business choreographers. Alexi isn't here today, just me. And today we're going to be talking about the time for money paradox. This one is interesting, and I've experienced it firsthand. I know all of you have experienced it firsthand. And again, like I said in the intro, if you're an entrepreneur, I know that you're constantly searching for ways to beat this paradox. And what is the paradox? The paradox is that no matter what, you are using your time every day, and you only have a certain amount of time. You only have a finite amount. And what that amount is, well, that's not for us to know until our time comes, and that's it. And so you have a certain amount of time, and you are constantly trading that time for something back. Now, we're using the term money, but it could be anything. You're trading your time for an experience. You're trading your time for $1. You're trading your time for a thing. Now, why do you trade your dollar for a thing? Because that thing might give you an experience in time. And so we're constantly dealing with this. And so this is a big challenge, especially as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. We are constantly looking for ways to do better at the time for money trade. And this is what the most successful business owners have learned to do all along their journey. They have learned to do this one thing. And this is the key. This is the key to beating the time for money paradox. It is leverage. You have to actually be able to create leverage in your day-to-day life. Why and how does this work? Well, let's think of it. If you can create a process, and the process, let's say, is posting a YouTube video. Okay, great. You're building your YouTube channel. Way to go. That's great. All right. Now you video, and then you take all the pieces and you edit it, and then you go and create a thumbnail and a description, and then you choose to post it on a certain time after you've done some research to get the keywords, to understand what and where you need to post it, when you need to post it. So you've got all these processes that go with creating a single video for your YouTube channel and to post it. Okay. And that is a strategy any business can use, because YouTube is available for everybody to be able to utilize. Now, if you personally are doing that, then you are taking all of those pieces of time to create that piece of content. That's great, right? But are you the best one that should be doing that? Well, maybe you say, Michael, I am a great editor and I know exactly what I need to do for my content. And I said, well, that's great. But are there any parts of that process or the entire process that you can leverage? Can you be the one that records the content and then now passes it into the conveyor belt? Think Henry Ford for a second, right? You pass it into the conveyor belt, and then the conveyor belt or the system and process runs. And now what you've done is you've got this many hours of work. Maybe it took you 5 hours of work to get that one video prepped and ready after the recording process. It could be much more, or it could be much less, depending on what type of video you're making. And maybe you can hire somebody and put them into place to do that. Now, that would be your first bit of leverage, because how much does that video produce in terms of revenue for you on the back end? Okay, you take that, and what if that video produced, let's just take a silly, easy number. Let's take $1,000. It's a nice round number. So if that video produced $1,000, can you take half of it, $500, and pay somebody to do that, but also do it on a number of other videos. Maybe it would pay for 2 other videos. Maybe they could get 10 other videos for you done in that amount of time, but you still take $1,000 or you still take $500 for yourself. Okay, maybe what if it cost you the full $1,000? Well, you're still going to be able to leverage that person's expertise to do multiple videos, not just the one, because maybe it won't cost you $1,000 to do the one. Maybe it will. Maybe you get a really super fancy editor and they cost that much to do the one video. Okay, great. Well, you have to be able to learn how to leverage that. Figure out your return on investment and even figure out if you could break even. Okay, I pulled in $1,000 from that video. I'm going to pay $1,000 for that video, but do you have other things that you can sell them on top of that? Because maybe you created some revenue from that particular video and now you can gain other revenue inside your business or other businesses that you run. So this is a great way to leverage your time. Now, this is just a silly example that I just pulled out of my head, and you could do that. Now, what if it cost you a little bit more than what you made? Well, now you have to determine whether or not that's going to bring you enough clients in that you can then pay for it on the back end. But typically, we want to create situations like that where we can leverage this amount of money coming in. Now, when you do that, you can start doing higher and higher leveraged things. Now, what's the premise for this? Well, remember, some of you know that I was a former professional ballroom dancer and I used to trade literally time for dollars, right? Because I would teach a lesson, and in that lesson, you could calculate how much they paid for the lesson. Therefore, you knew exactly how much per every minute spent that you were making when you taught that one lesson. And it was a trade of the time for the knowledge or the expertise. But here's the thing. There are levels or phases that you go through, or that you will go through if you choose to ascend through your business journey. And one of those phases, from being the person delivering the lesson to the person that was consuming it. Okay, now you're trading literally minutes for dollars. Okay, now what if you become the studio owner? Right? The owner of the business. And now you're taking a portion of that and you're paying some of it to the teacher and you're keeping some for yourself, but you don't have to teach the lesson. So now you can get 5 teachers doing it all during the same hour. Now you've leveraged that. Okay. Now, yes, I'm talking about it simplistically, but that is the basic premise. Now, let's take it a step further. What if you owned the business that did that? Now you're paying the business operator, and that operator takes care of the manager or managers and all of the people working inside of it. And now you've leveraged it outside of that. So now for your efforts outside of the business, you're actually gaining massive amounts of leverage and man hours, because there's no way you could possibly teach 5 lessons in one time. Okay, now I'm using a dance lesson or a studio perspective, but this is the same idea for your business. What's your thing? Do you sell pizza? Do you sell lawyer services? Law services, right? Do you sell dental services? Do you sell SaaS, right? What kind of business do you have? And how can you go through and learn to leverage the things in the business better? That's just a fun thought. And it is part of the choreography process. It's part of what we do. It's part of how we think about businesses, because we're constantly looking for ways to counter the time for money paradox, right? That place where you cannot yourself do the work, but you can actually leverage it, because you can now get the power of many people doing work for you that maybe they're even better at than you are. But each of you entrepreneurs, each of you have had the experience or are in the experience right now of being in the entrepreneurial rat race, where you are still doing a lot of the work, where you're still doing maybe nuts to bolts. Maybe you've even bootstrapped a company before, and if you have bootstrapped a company just like I have, you know that you wore every hat. You were the janitor, you were the bookkeeper, you were the tax person, you were the creator of content, and you were the salesman. You did everything. If you've bootstrapped a company, you've done all pieces and all parts, right? And in that process, little by little, you have to learn to leverage other people's experience and expertise. And this is a massive, massive important thing for you as an entrepreneur. We have to avoid the paradox, and we have to take in the power of leverage. Leverage is the key to increase your ROI. And there's nothing better to do it. You can't get an ROI on the stock exchange or in stocks and bonds and CDs. You can't find an ROI that will give you a better return than investing in a business. Businesses have some of the best ROI that you could possibly do. And I'm talking about your own business that you're building and other businesses that you could bring in. We have to escape the entrepreneurial rat race by continuing to increase our ROI, by continuing to improve our leverage. And this is a very, very important thing. So this time for money paradox, I mean, if you sell one item, and if you have to do all the pieces and parts to sell that one item, oh my goodness, you're never going to make it. If you have to sell one lesson, this is part of what drove me to find something more, because I was a dance teacher for many years, and I realized I was capped out. No matter how hard I worked, there were only so many hours I could physically stand and mentally be able to deliver the service and expertise that I had. And so I had to find a way to move up the food chain. So I owned and operated a studio, and that moved me up a little bit and gave me more leverage and gave me the ability to now leverage other people's wonderful experience and great expertise. And it served us all. And that was the point. It served us all. It wasn't a bad thing. It was just something that helped us all improve and all have a better situation using the skills and talents that we all had. But there's that next step. You can get above your business, put somebody in to run the business, pay them, and now leverage it. Now, what do? You gain back more time. Now, this is only good if you actually use your time for good things. Now, what good is, I don't know. Could be for more experiences with your family. It could be for more time to work. Maybe working is what you love. And I always say there's things that we do. We can trade time for money. We can trade work for money. We can trade what you love to do for money. And so you may find that you have all sorts of time that you've leveraged back because you have plenty of those things coming in. And now you get to do exactly what you love. One of our mentors talks about it all the time. He said he was miserable through 2 years after he had already earned more money than he knew what to do with, and that he was secure for the rest of his life and maybe his children's life. And so now he took the time off for 2 years and did nothing. And he said he was miserable. I understand it. I believe it. Right? You got to do what you love. You know what he ended up coming back and doing? Working. What kind of work? Only the work that he loved to do. And he leveraged out all the other stuff. This is a really big deal. All right. So we've got to escape that time for money paradox. This is how you do it. You leverage. You have to find leverage. If you need help finding leverage, let us know, because this is something we're great at. Okay. So I hope this has helped. I hope you can have some better experience. I hope this kind of brings it clear in your mind so that you can start looking for ways to improve your leverage. Improve your leverage in your business, on your business, about your business, gaining other businesses, letting others that are experts at the thing that they do, let them come in and do that for you so that you can create and generate leverage. All right, guys, we will talk with you on the next episode. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Every business needs choreography.
Choreography in your marketing, your operations, and your sales.
That's why we created the Business Choreography Group.
Come and join an amazing group of business owners developing their choreography to help their businesses grow and scale.
Go to bizchoreo.com/group to join us today.